first question we are going to think about is, what is economics? That's a good question. What is economics? Well, very simple way, or very legitimate or definition-wise, we can say like this. From the Wikipedia is not always like as a scholar perspective correct, and there is some errors, there is some kind of pitfalls, but still under general understanding purpose, there is some good thing about Wikipedia. So I borrow the definition from the Wikipedia. Economics is a social science that study the production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services. That's very core or original meaning or very narrow definition of economics. So definition-wise, economics is a branch of social science, one of science. Economics is a science. But what economics deal with? So three things, right? Production, distribution, and consumption. In other words, we can simplify these three activities as economic activities. So economic activities, there is a lot of other things we can categorize: production, distribution, and consumption. And goods and services, as you know, goods is the product, and services we daily enjoy the service, which is not tangible, touchable, but we using the services for our need. So economics is dealing with that. So three activities: production, distribution, and consumption. We generally categorize three activities in all human actions. So social science means we study human beings' behavior and decision-making process. So generally, this definition is coming out from the three fundamental questions every economy, every country, every community can have in the perspective of economy. So economic actions. So what people, what citizens, what members of community is considering or think about what they do in daily life. So what kind of thing, what kind of product, what kind of thing we should produce within this environment, under this situation. So in sometimes economists think that is a constraint. We don't have enough unlimited time, which means that we have a limited time. People die in the future. We don't know when even, right? So under that kind of constraint, we need to make a decision about what kind of product we should produce. So yet that's an action of production. So that is one question. So under this circumstance, under this limited resources, what do we produce? And the second one is, how can we produce? So how many hours of work, labor we can put in, or how many machines we borrow, how many, land, how big land we need to produce something. And even we think about under that production process, what kind of technology we need to apply in there. So those things we need to decide. That is the second question. And third question is how we can distribute it. So how we can distribute it is, in the country-wise, how we can distribute the wealth is another issue. Right now there is very heated issues. But still that distribution means that we produce something. Farmers produce apples, pears, and there is 10 people in this community. Who get the pears, who get the apple, right? Those kind of decisions, how we can distribute it. So those things are fundamentals of economics. And this is the Wikipedia definition out of it. So we study those economic actions during this semester, especially microeconomics dealing with individual decision-making process under this production, distribution, and consumption. Those fundamental questions, what type of goods and services should produce, how we can produce it, how we can distribute it, those three questions is a fundamental question country or community or area, region need to decide. We define as economy as whatever it is. It can be country level, it can be regional level, it can be community level, and individual level. But yeah, we can think of it as a model. We assume that we're considering this amount, and we will pin down using the model, and under the certain assumption, we need to analyze how we can decide each one of the questions and make a decision wisely, efficiently out of that. The second definition is Alfred Marshall, who is a really famous one of the economists. Economics is a study of mankind in the ordinary business of life. So human beings' decision-making process, we study each individual decision-making process. We're going to study and analyze. So first definition says, or limited to economic activities, and how we can limited those economic activity only three things: production, distribution, and consumption. In some way, we can think of any action, any mankind decision-making process, human beings' decision can be interpreted as some kind of economic action. It is relating to economics. So in this perspective, we need to think about scope of economics. Economics itself is narrowed down only in economic activity, which are production, distribution, and consumption. This is the only thing. Well, originally, economists focusing on those limited area, but that area is widened and bigger right now. So Alfred Marshall's definition, it is simpler than first one. Study of mankind in ordinary business of life. Everyday life, mankind's doing something that is coverage of economics. And economics is that study, the study of mankind. So human beings, social science, that is economics. But not only limited to production, distribution, and consumption, but also whatever it is, daily life, people do make a decision that is inclusive in the coverage of economics. That's what he meant. Next one is John Maynard Keynes' definition. The theory of economics is method rather than a doctrine, an apparatus of mind, a technique of thinking which helps its professor to draw correct conclusions. It's longer, but yeah, John Maynard Keynes is one of the most important and famous economists, relatively recent economists. So I copied his definition right here. So economics itself is not the method, not limited to the method, right? Or some kind of political doctrines. But it is a tool, right? Tool or technique of thinking. So it gives economics itself. We learn economics. By doing so, we learn how to think or how to analyze, how to make a critical decision, efficient solutions, and then make correct decisions out of it. So, under this second and third definition, we need to think about decision. If there is something we need to decide, we need to learn economics as a fundamentals, as a tool, right? As a method, way of thinking, technique of thinking, By doing so, we're learning more and more economics. We do make right decision, correct conclusion. By doing so, we get the benefit out of it. So I really hope that you guys also learn more about economics and in daily life make a right decision all the time, efficient solutions all the time, correct conclusion all the time. Yeah, people make a mistake all the time. So it is not always, but we need to think like that, right? And build up like way to think, how to think is the fundamental purpose of learning economics. Well, at this point, definition of economics is not that important in the sense that we're learning economics from now on. During this semester, we think about each one of it and some weird model, and sometimes it's important model. By learning that, we learn this and we feel that, oh, why economics defined like this. And under that, study, we learn the method or tools or technique of thinking during this semester. And you will get benefit out of it in your life. Next one we need to think about today is, economics is something, right? Study, social science, about economic activities or how to make a decision. Good. Is that good? Yeah, under that, it is good. How we can interpret that to apply in our daily lives. So, in other words, we change the question like this. Why? Why do we study economics? Yeah, some portion I answered this question a little bit. But study economics perspective, and during this like academic activities, learning, right? Under the process, what do I expect and what you can expect during this semester? First of all, we can develop critical thinking skills. Well, that employers value. In other words, develop critical thinking skills give you the money. You can get the high-paid job after graduation. Yeah, study economics, boosting your income. Well, in a way, correct. It depending on your job and in your interest. But high-paid job need critical thinking skills, problem-solving ability. Yeah, every day we come up with lots of questions and lots of problems, and we need to solve. We need to deal instantly, or take time to solve bigger problems. Under that, we daily lives come up with the problems. We need to think, what is the correct one? What is the reason? And what is the solution out of it? Well, some questions are easy to deal with because it is solved already and there is a solution. We just search it, right? How can I cook the curry? Yeah, search the, web. And then Google Neighbor tell you what is the best way to cook it. But there is a lot of other questions which is not clear solution already, revealed. So we need to think about it. What is the main question, main problem of this? What is the cause of these issues? And then how can resolve this? How can solve this? Under that process, we need critical thinking skill. So study economics, develop your critical thinking skills. By doing so, we can get high-paid job. Well, money is the number one priority. No, but still, one of the tools make your life much easier. So in that perspective, everybody wants high-paid job after graduation, or high, respect depending on the job. But still, critical thinking skills are essential for those career. Second one, cultivate healthy skepticism. So not just accept somebody say that is the answer. Well, under that situation, it is correct. But what if some other things happen? Will you just accept the answer is correct? Condition changes, answer should be changes. Or some people making a conclusion out of it. Is that correct? And we can get a skepticism out of it. Why? Why is that solution is the best? Is that a most efficient solution? Is there other solution except that? By learning economics, we using the model and analysis and whatever you have certain idea, try to solve. Better answer. More efficient answer. That's what we are going to think about during this semester. And I hope you get that kind of, ability and habit to do it in daily life. Third one, I can come up with is learn to navigate a diverse set of policy-related questions. So very realistic economic questions, right? As we define as a first definition, which is relating to production, consumption, distribution, those three core economic activities. Under that, we live a life, daily life. We heard a lot of news, which government doing some, policies out of this. Is that correct? Is that right? Is that reasonable? Is that efficient? Those kind of things we can think of it and we can analyze it as better citizens. And you have opinion out of it. Well, in Asian culture, there is not that many or welcome those kind of lots of pro and cons about ideas. New ideas, diversity, way of thinking, creativity. Those things are well welcomed in Western culture. Relatively in Korea, it is very limited, but it is getting moving in that directions. Diversity of ideas, diversity of solutions, and we can compare and debate, discuss about the better solution, more efficient solution. So those things, right? A lot of chances, a lot of solution. Under that, what we can do and what will decide out of all those different diverse of choices. And then it is relating with policy. Daily life, we come up with lots of new policies and new directions, which is dealt with government. It is relating to the economic policies. Most likely we analyze it and think about it and have opinion about it. So very realistically, third one, central bank raising a rate, and then interest rate, then what is going to happen? What is the impact on it? And not general macroeconomic, consequences. We can think about how about that policies or how about that changes make my life differently. So what is my better reaction out of that? We need to think about it, and fundamentally by learning more and more economics, you can have your opinion and your decision out of that. That's what you're going to learn, and as a consequence, I hope you guys have better idea about that.